Good evening, everybody. Republicans tonight preparing to vote on a continuing resolution to avoid a government shutdown at midnight tomorrow. The House Republicans right now scrambling to shore up 216 votes that will be required for a majority to pass the short-term spending bill that will keep the government running. But despite assurances from Speaker Paul Ryan this morning, there seems to be a lot of, difficult questions about who's voting for or against the continuing resolution. And so far, it's not clear whether Republicans actually have the votes, even though they have the majority and the so-called savants today forecasting easy passage of the CR in the House and forecasting much more trouble in the Senate. We'll have a live report for you from Capitol Hill in just moments, and we'll be talking with one of the Republican Party's emerging leaders, the highly respected representative from Arizona, Congresswoman Martha McSally. Also tonight, President Trump predicting his strong economic policies will help Republicans win the 2018 midterms. And no one can deliver the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid." No one does it nearly as well as does President Trump. See if you agree.
If we can keep it like this, we're going to win a lot of elections, that I can tell you. It's something. No, it's something. It's the economy, stupid. Did you ever hear that one? It's the economy. It is indeed.
The first year of the Trump presidency has been historic in his leadership and his achievements. Extraordinary. Markets soaring, GDP growth accelerating, unemployment at an almost 17-year low will be taking up the president's many successes and how all of them will likely upend the Democratic Party's plans to make inroads against the Republicans come November's midterm elections. One of the smartest folks in politics and the wisest political strategist, Ed Rollins, with us tonight. And President Trump today insisting he will build the wall, despite conflicting remarks from his chief of staff. President Trump reportedly irritated that John Kelly told Democratic lawmakers, the Hispanic caucus in particular, that the president had, quote, evolved on the wall, but it appears the president believes the wall is still the doggone wall. Our top story tonight, the Republican effort to avoid a government shutdown. Congress has just over 24 hours in which to pass a government funding measure, but Republicans and Democrats are still divided on the way forward. And according to the president, Democrats would like to see a shutdown.
I really believe the Democrats want a shutdown to get off the subject of the tax cuts because they've worked so well. Nobody thought, including the Democrats, they could work this well.
Not at all. And Fox News chief congressional correspondent Mike Emanuel is live on Capitol Hill tonight with the very latest for us. Good evening, Mike.
Lou, good evening. We have breaking developments. A majority of the House Freedom Caucus, a critical conservative group, says it is now on board with this key government funding extension. House Republican leaders are urging to get it done.
Address the real deadlines that are here. The real deadlines by continuing the funding for our military. Extend the children's health insurance program. And instead of our men and women in uniform being treated like bargaining chips, we can keep working on getting the resources that they need.
Pushing for an immigration fix this week, the House Democratic leader said she's a no.
So having nothing to do with protecting our dreamers or anything else, we will be opposing this continuing resolution.
To win some Democratic votes, the package includes a 6-year extension of children's health insurance. Pelosi's not impressed.
This is like giving you a bowl of doggy-doo, put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae. This is nothing.
Then there's the national security issue, with this being the 4th continuing resolution since October.
Mr. Speaker, what's your case to national security lawmakers who worry that every day under a CR damages the military?
The CR is not good for the military, but what's worse for the military is a government shutdown. What's even worse for the military is a government shutdown followed by a sequester, which is what would happen if we don't pass a CR.
On the Senate side, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has warned his GOP colleagues about the possibility of being in session this weekend if the continuing resolution fails. McConnell emailed at 10:17 a.m., plan to work, quote, if Senate Democrats follow through and are willing to shut down the government and the children's health insurance program. And McConnell called for GOP unity. We are strongest when we stick together. That will produce the best spending deal and the best DACA deal. But some of his fellow Republicans are unhappy.
I think it's inexcusable, so I'll be a no vote because I'm not going to vote to continue to put the country further into debt.
We're not going to get a CR through the Congress until we have a pathway forward to increase defense spending, deal with immigration, chips, and everything else.
Winning some Democrats will be critical, with 60 yes votes needed in the Senate and only 50 Republicans likely to vote.
It doesn't resolve the fate of the Dreamers. It doesn't include an increase in military funding that members from both sides of the aisle would support. It's just another kick of the can down the road because the Republicans, both in the Senate, the House, and the White House, can't get their act together.
Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke tweeted today, "We fully expect the government to continue operations. However, in the event of a shutdown, public lands will be as accessible as safely possible under the law."
In the Senate, Democrats say they have the votes to block the bill. Republicans are already saying Democrats would be siding with 800,000 so-called Dreamers over the health insurance of 9 million children. But the first immediate test is a vote in the House, likely later this hour. Lou?
Mike, thank you very much, Mike Emanuel, and we'll be watching for that vote and as to whether or not the Republican Party can deliver first in the House and then the Senate in support of the continuing resolution. Mike Emanuel reporting from Capitol Hill. Our first guest tonight says Democrats are playing games on DACA and the spending bill with the lives of our military hanging in the balance. Joining us tonight, Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally of Arizona. She's a member of the Armed Services Committee, also running for Arizona's open Senate seat to replace outgoing Senator Jeff Flake. Congresswoman, great to have you with us. And let's start with these most recent developments that Mike Emanuel just reported. The Freedom Caucus moving into line, apparently, to support the continuing resolution tonight and perhaps within the hour in the vote.
Actually, the votes were just called, Lou, and we'll be heading in soon. And as I've said, I was in the military for 26 years. It is infuriating that the Democrats are playing politics with our troops. I brought this up in the White House meeting last week, that they have created this fake deadline for something that isn't a top priority of the American people and putting our American lives, our troops, in jeopardy. They are right now deployed in harm's way. Their families are back home praying for them and hoping to be able to pay the bills. They will not be paid. If something happens to them, the death benefits will not be paid. Their readiness is at a crisis right now. We've had 80 training deaths last year and 20 in combat. The Navy ship accidents, the airplane accidents is because of the lack of funding and the sequestration and these fits and starts. And so the fact that the Democrats would play games with our troops, I raised my right hand and took that oath. They're all out there right now, and they are counting on them to not let them down, and they better not let them down in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that President Trump, alone among all of the candidates running for the office of president in 2016, was the one who talked about the antiquated equipment, who talked about the shortage of combat-ready forces, and he is committed to enlarging that. Let's turn to the games that are being played on DACA. Because that's an important issue in the state of Arizona. It is for the nation. DACA has somehow managed to move its way to the front of the line. And frankly, many people are very upset because it puts millions of other people coming into the country legally, lawfully, at the back of the line. It also puts them ahead of, as you say, the men and women in our military. The issues go on and on. This is madness, and it's being played out as a public relations stunt.
Absolutely. Look, the Democrats have hijacked this process. They have been failing to sit down at the table and negotiate in good faith, strong support for our military. It's great that we have a president and a commander-in-chief who is committed and focused on giving our troops everything they need. But the Democrats have failed to sit down and negotiate because of DACA, which there's no deadline tomorrow on DACA. Look, we can address these issues, but the bill that I introduced last week with some of my teammates actually are the top priorities on this topic, which is really securing our border, ending chain migration, ending the visa lottery, cracking down on sanctuary cities, passing Kate's Law, and doing the things that actually are the root causes of why we have a DACA population in the first place. So let's focus on our troops. I've lived through CRs, and I've lived through government shutdowns as a member of the military. The reason we're having a CR vote tonight as the least worst option is because the Democrats have failed to come to the table in good faith, and they're continuing to hijack the process over DACA. Vote to keep the government open, support our troops, and sit down and negotiate our bill in good faith. Tell us what you don't like about it so we can move forward and address these issues that are highest priorities.
Yeah, the issue of DACA, not to depart from it, let's make clear to everyone, there are two lies about DACA. And DACA is a Democratic issue. It is and it is a large measure fiction. One, there is no deadline on March 5th.
Right.
The deadline is in November because those registered under DACA, those will be the first ones to come up that'll require renewal. Secondly, the big lie is it's just under 700,000 people. Those are the people on the registry, but with combining all who could be brought in under DACA, the number approaches 4 million illegal immigrants. And this Congress, I assure you, and Senate won't have the guts to put down the numbers of visa that will be the result of passing something called DACA, because they want to perpetuate the lies that they've been telling about immigration, illegal immigration in particular in this country, for the better part of a decade and a half.
Lou, these are because of failures of many, many years of us not enforcing our laws and also not securing our borders, not addressing visa overstays, and all the things that go into why we have this population in the first place. So, look, we are willing to sit down and address these issues, but the highest priorities are securing our border, to include building a wall, getting the agents everything they need, intelligence-driven operations to stop the dangerous cartels that are coming over our border, address visa overstays, which were more last year than those coming over the border. We make it a misdemeanor, a crime in our bill. Addressing the loopholes right now where people are looking for Border Patrol agents and turning themselves in. Cartels tell them to claim asylum, and then they disappear into our country with false claims with a court date 5 years in the future. This is insanity. One reason why President Trump is in the White House is because the American people were fed up with these failures. And so we are willing to sit down and address these root issues so that we can move the country and support the American worker, secure our borders, secure our communities, address some of these other issues in a fair way that isn't incentivizing future illegal activity or rewarding people who already conducted illegal activity.
Are you going to get the CR through tonight?
I think we are. I think we are. Definitely in the House. It's over to the Senate. And again, if those Senate Democrats vote no, I think they should be heading off to Afghanistan and Iraq or South Korea on the next airplane. Look our troops in the eye and explain why they're not going to get paid while their families are back home wondering how they're going to go to the grocery store and pay their rent. This is a travesty, and they better not be playing politics with this. And I hope that people start to rise up and see what's going on in the games they're playing with our military.
Congresswoman Martha McSally, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.